Lots of new stuff around as well to see. Where would you like to start?
Let's
Mr.
start
King?
with the biggie, shall we? This is Tom Cruise's new movie, The Edge of Tomorrow. So the world is at war with aliens who have arrived by a meteor and who have now run rampant across present-day Europe. And Tom Cruise plays this military PR guy, so a sort of media relations officer, who is trying to convince the public that things are going well in this war with the aliens, even though actually they're not going well. And he himself he's a bit slimy and he's a bit of a coward. And he's having a meeting one morning with the big army boss. This is Brendan Gleeson. And Cruise admits that, you know, he doesn't really want to fight. He likes the fact that he's got this kind of cushy desk job.
Yeah.
And Gleeson, as punishment, gets him thrown head first into the front line. So he has to fight these mad, screechy, octopus-like aliens. This is all in the first 5 minutes, so I don't think I'm giving too much away. And when he's there, he discovers that he somehow contracted this sort of strange power, the power to get killed, but then come back and start the same day over and over again. And he realizes that this might actually help him, because he and this super soldier called Rita Vrataski, played by Emily Blunt, they realise that this gives them time. This gives them time to work out how to finally beat this alien race. Here's a clip.
Reload.
You alright, Cage?
I think I broke something.
What?
My back. The only thing I can feel on my lips.
Now listen carefully. This is a very important rule. This is the only rule. You get injured on the field, you better make sure you die.
Why?
Last time I was in combat, I was hit. I was bleeding out, just not fast enough. I woke up in a field hospital with 3 pints of someone else's blood, and I was out. I lost the power. Do you understand? I think we better start over, don't you?
What?
I mean, how many times does she get to shoot Tom Cruise in this film?
Lots.
It's pretty impressive.
On the face of it, actually, rather appropriately, it does feel a little bit like Tom Cruise himself reliving the past, because there's a strong whiff, I thought, of War of the Worlds to begin with in this, because once again, he's this sort of flawed guy, this flawed character. He's not a hero, but he finds himself having to be a hero and right at the centre of this battle to save the planet. And of course, like War of the Worlds and Minority Report as well, you know, it's another very big budget, very slick, massive effects, straightforward, almost old-fashioned sci-fi blockbuster. So it's not Tom Cruise of Magnolia or of Collateral, where he's trying something different. This is Tom Cruise on familiar ground. However, as things went on, I do think there is something about this that does mark it out as different, and actually marks it out as, I think, maybe even his best sci-fi movie. And that's the mood. The mood in this is pretty insane, because it's the story of a guy who lives that same day over and over again. Not a couple of times, but hundreds of times, relentlessly. And you feel the mania that would come with that. And it comes at you, I mean, all guns blazing. Tom Cruise is hyper, the aliens are hyper, the editing is hyper. There is a real manic urgency to this that I think marks it out from those other Tom Cruise sci-fi movies. Now, of course, in a lot of time travel movies, if you want to call it that, time loop films, sometimes when you think about it too much, you go, hang on, this doesn't quite add up, does it?
Wait, hold on, you left that point. And
I mean, we mentioned 50 First Dates already today. I don't think that would bear too much analysis. But I think with this, you do find yourself willingly suspending your disbelief, because you're too out of breath to do anything else. It moves along at such a pace, it never really gives you the chance to think about it too much. It probably doesn't all add up, to be honest, but it never really stops enough to let you think too hard about it. And that mood is certainly helped by some good dialogue. I mean, again, we talked about Maleficent and sort of rewrites and all this kind of stuff and reshoots. I mean, I think there were lots of rewrites of this script. I mean, it's actually credited to Christopher McQuarrie, who wrote The Usual Suspects, and then Jez and John Henry Butterworth, best known as playwrights. But there are apparently several other people who worked on the script as well.
I think Doug Liman's a big thing about this as well.
Yeah, because he is a bit eccentric himself. He's a bit nerdy.
Yeah, you look at the collection of films that he's done, and it's quite sporadic. Swingers,
and they did Jumper
yeah,
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, exactly. He directed an episode of The OC. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like
he is someone who is very smart and a little bit eccentric and a bit boffinish. And I think actually, whilst we might not have seen that in Jumper particularly, I think he does really put that in this. There is sort of a craziness to it, and the editing's great, so that you really I mean, it's quite a complicated story, so to mold it into something that is comprehensible, understandable, I think is quite an achievement as well. And Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, they just really go for it. Bill Paxton really goes for it. Blunt is certainly a lot more physical in this than we've seen her before. I mean, sometimes we associate her with sort of slightly posh, repressed roles, but in this, I mean, she's badass. I mean, she's
great.
It's brilliant in it.
So chuffed to see her kind of get that elevation.
Yeah, and
like,
I mean, it shows. I think it sort of really opens up loads of new doors for her to be in a film like this and to show that she can do it. But I think ultimately I really liked it because it's not part of a
fun.
It's fun. It's not part of a franchise. It's not a sequel. As much as I love the Marvel films, it's not just another Marvel comic book adaptation. And even if it doesn't feel particularly 2014, because it's not any of those things, that's quite nice about it. It's sort of a new, old-fashioned summer blockbuster. And of course, Tom Cruise, made his name doing those kind of movies. And I quite like the consistency that he's still doing them with a twist, bit different, but he's still there churning out big budget, big slick action movies and sci-fi movies, and they're still enjoyable.
His commitment is admirable, isn't it? In terms of
I mean, not every movie he's made has been brilliant, but I think there's been a sort of storytelling quality about them. Because you can imagine, Tom Cruise is Mr. Professional, and he doesn't want turkeys on his CV. And not all of them have been great, and not all of them have been huge hits. But compared to some people, I mean, his consistency is pretty impressive. And I think it continues with this. It's a very solid, very enjoyable film.
He still looks awesome as well. I mean, he's like, what is he?
50-ish now?
It's brilliant. It's great. Yeah. I'm excited about the next Minority Reports as well.
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible, even. Yeah. Can't wait for that one. Right. So that is Edge of Tomorrow.